Adolf Hitler was born in Austria in 1889 in the small town of Braunau am Inn. This quaint town, nestled along the border with Germany, would be the starting point of a life that would later plunge the world into chaos. His childhood was marked by a strict father, Alois Hitler, who was a customs official, and a loving mother, Clara Hitler, who doted on her son. The contrasting influences of his parents created a complex emotional environment for young Adolf. He developed an early interest in art, dreaming of becoming a great artist. However, his aspirations were crushed when he failed to gain admission to the prestigious Vienna Academy of Fine Arts, not once, but twice. This rejection was a significant blow to his self-esteem and ambitions. This rejection fueled a sense of resentment and aimlessness in the young Hitler. He found himself wandering the streets of Vienna, feeling lost and without purpose. The city's vibrant yet tumultuous atmosphere only added to his growing discontent. As he drifted through Vienna, he was exposed to the city's undercurrents of nationalism and anti-Semitism. These toxic ideologies were prevalent in the coffeehouses and political circles he frequented, and they began to take root in his mind. These ideologies would later form the bedrock of his hateful beliefs. The fervent nationalism and deep-seated anti-Semitism he encountered in Vienna would become central to his worldview, shaping his future actions and policies. Hitler's early life offered few hints of the monster he would become. To those around him, he was just another young man struggling to find his place in the world, yet beneath the surface his experiences and the ideologies he absorbed were molding him into a figure of immense destructiveness. Yet the seeds of his twisted worldview were sown in these formative years. The rejection, the aimlessness, and the exposure to toxic ideologies all combined to set him on a dark path. The frustrations of his youth, coupled with the prevailing prejudices of the time, shaped his outlook and set him on a path that would have devastating consequences for the world. These early experiences were the crucible in which his dangerous and destructive beliefs were forged, leading to a legacy of horror and tragedy. The outbreak of World War I in 1914 provided a sense of purpose to the directionless Hitler. He volunteered for the German army, eager to prove his patriotism. He served with distinction, earning the Iron Cross for bravery. However, the horrors of war and Germany's eventual defeat left an indelible mark on him. The Treaty of Versailles, which held Germany responsible for the war and imposed harsh penalties, fueled Hitler's anger and resentment. He saw it as a humiliation, a stab in the back by weak politicians and treacherous Jews. This sense of grievance festered within him, laying the groundwork for his future political ambitions. Post-war Germany was a fertile ground for extremist ideologies. The devastation of World War I left the country in ruins, both physically and emotionally. The Treaty of Versailles had imposed harsh penalties, leading to widespread resentment and a sense of injustice among the German people. The country was in economic turmoil, burdened by reparations and struggling with unemployment. Hyperinflation had rendered the German mark almost worthless, and many families found themselves destitute. The once proud nation was now grappling with poverty and despair, creating a breeding ground for radical solutions. In this climate of despair, Hitler's fiery rhetoric found a receptive audience. His speeches tapped into the deep-seated anger and frustration of the populace. He promised to restore Germany to its former glory, to make it strong and respected once again. He joined the National Socialist German Workers' Party, better known as the Nazi Party, in 1921. This small fringe group quickly grew under his leadership, attracting those who were disillusioned with the current state of affairs. Hitler's charisma and his message of national revival resonated with many Germans who felt betrayed and humiliated by their defeat in World War I. His ability to articulate their grievances and offer a vision of a brighter future made him a compelling figure. He skillfully exploited their anger and fear, blaming Jews, communists, and liberals for Germany's woes. By identifying scapegoats, he provided simple answers to complex problems, which made his message even more appealing to a desperate population. His speeches, filled with passionate calls for national unity and a return to greatness, drew larger and larger crowds. The fervor and enthusiasm at these rallies were palpable, as more and more Germans began to believe in his vision for the future. The seeds of discontent had been sown, and the flames were now being fanned into a roaring fire. The Nazi Party, riding a wave of popular discontent, made significant gains in the 1932 elections. In 1933, Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany. He quickly consolidated his power, using the Reichstag fire as a pretext to suspend civil liberties and eliminate political opponents. With ruthless efficiency, Hitler transformed Germany into a totalitarian state. He banned all other political parties, established a secret police force, the Gestapo, and unleashed a campaign of terror against his enemies. He took on the title of Führer, becoming the absolute dictator of Germany. Section 5. The Shadow of the Swastika. Life in Nazi Germany. Under Hitler's rule, Germany underwent a dramatic transformation. The Nazi Party's ideology permeated every aspect of life. Propaganda was omnipresent, glorifying Hitler and promoting the myth of Aryan supremacy. Children were indoctrinated with Nazi ideology from a young age. The regime systematically persecuted Jews, stripping them of their rights and subjecting them to horrific discrimination. Concentration camps were established, initially to imprison political opponents, but later becoming sites of unimaginable horror. The world watched in disbelief as Hitler's regime tightened its grip on German society, extinguishing freedom and instilling fear. Section 6. The Drums of War. Hitler's ruthless pursuit of domination. Driven by his twisted ideology and a thirst for power, Hitler embarked on a path of aggression. He rebuilt the German military in defiance of the Treaty of Versailles. In 1938, he annexed Austria, his birthplace, into the Third Reich. Emboldened by his early successes, Hitler set his sights on further expansion. In 1939, he invaded Poland, triggering the start of World War II. Hitler's ambition to conquer Europe and create a vast German empire would plunge the world into the deadliest conflict in human history. Section 7. The Holocaust, a Stain on Humanity. As Hitler's armies rampaged across Europe, the Nazi regime unleashed its full fury on Jews and other minorities. The Holocaust, the systematic genocide of 6 million Jews, stands as a chilling testament to the depths of human depravity. Jews were rounded up and deported to concentration camps where they were subjected to forced labor, starvation, torture, and mass murder. The world recoiled in horror as the full extent of the Nazi regime's crimes against humanity came to light. Section 8. The Tide Turns: The Decline and Fall of the Third Reich. Hitler's early victories in the war were short-lived. The tide began to turn with the German defeat at Stalingrad in 1943. The Allied forces, led by the United States, Great Britain and the Soviet Union, gradually pushed back the German army on all fronts. As defeat became inevitable, Hitler's grip on reality seemed to loosen. He retreated to his bunker in Berlin, issuing delusional orders and refusing to accept the reality of the situation. On April 30th, 1945, with Soviet forces closing in, Hitler committed suicide, ending his reign of terror. Section 9. Legacy of Hate. Remembering Hitler's atrocities. The world emerged from World War II in ruins, forever scarred by the horrors it had witnessed. Cities lay in rubble, and countless lives were lost. The devastation was unimaginable, and the scars ran deep, both physically and emotionally. The war had left an indelible mark on humanity, a reminder of the catastrophic consequences of unchecked aggression and hatred. The legacy of Adolf Hitler is one of death, destruction, and the enduring power of hate. His regime orchestrated the systematic extermination of 6 million Jews and millions of others deemed undesirable. The concentration camps stand as grim monuments to this dark chapter in history where unspeakable atrocities were committed in the name of a twisted ideology. His name has become synonymous with tyranny and genocide. Hitler's rise to power was marked by propaganda, manipulation, and ruthless ambition. He exploited economic woes and societal fears to establish a totalitarian regime that brooked no dissent. His image, often flanked by swastikas and other Nazi symbols, is a stark reminder of the dangers of charismatic but malevolent leadership. The world remembers Hitler's atrocities not to glorify him, but to learn from the past and to ensure that such horrors are never repeated. Memorials and museums dedicated to the Holocaust serve as educational tools, teaching future generations about the perils of hatred and intolerance. These sites of remembrance are solemn places where we honor the victims and renew our commitment to preventing such atrocities in the future. The study of Hitler's rise and fall serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked power, the seductive nature of hatred, and the importance of vigilance in safeguarding freedom and human dignity. By examining how a single individual could wield such destructive influence, we are reminded of our collective responsibility to uphold democratic values and human rights. The liberation of concentration camps and the subsequent Nuremberg trials brought some measure of justice, but the scars of the Holocaust remain. Survivors' stories and the evidence presented at these trials underscore the need for constant vigilance against tyranny. We must remember the past to protect the future, ensuring that the lessons learned from this dark period in history are never forgotten.